and back to the immigrant fleet. So we are done with organizations. Time to head back into the unknown. Oh, there are so many here. Gnosis phenomena, and secret data we have already seen. Let's go through this. The Vessel of Anima. An object that closely resembles the spinal cord of a living creature. How it works is unclear, but it functions as a receiving system for Zohar energy, making it useful as a power reactor for ES units. I know some of you will recognize that, but yeah, pretty much it wirelessly charges an ES unit from the original Zohar as the generator. How it works, they don't know, but that's how it functions, I guess I should say. Next up, Abel's Ark. The Galaxy Federation sees this as a giant gnosis that appeared in Miltian space. The luminous object in its center is not a planet, but is speculated to be something like a giant energy field. We only saw a little bit of that. ES is the general term for humanoid mobile weapons loaded with a vessel of anima. Or anima. Their cockpits can be either single or two-seat, depending on whether or not firing control needs to be divided between a pilot and a co-pilot. Most units equipped with a large amount of weaponry are two-seat due to their specialized functionality. Ormus units are single-seat. The size of an ES is not greatly different from that of a standard AIMS, but its fighting ability can be in order of magnitude greater. With the right combination of weaponry and pilot, an ES can hold enough combat power to be a match for a whole division of AIMS units. The chief reason given for this is the complete difference in the quality of the energy it uses for its operation, as well as the method by which that energy is supplied. AIMS, like eggs, operate via pulse energy transferred from their mothership, making them highly reliant on their UMN connection status and the condition of the mothership. This leads to the amount of energy that can be supplied in a given amount of time to be necessarily limited. This holds especially true when the mothership has been destroyed in battle. In such a case, basically the only recourse for a unit is to operate using its internal condenser and auxiliary co-generator. However, since the firearms and logical drive installed in each unit were designed under the assumption that they would be receiving a large supply of pulse energy from the mothership, it becomes impossible to operate everything at full spec. In other words, if you're in an eggs or an AIMS and your mothership goes down, you're pretty much dead. There's nothing you can do. You can operate using a little amount of energy, but you're not going to be able to operate at full speed anymore. On the other hand, since ES units operate on energy supplied by the Zohar via the Vessel of Anima interface, their supply of energy is inherently limitless. They are not reliant on the status of or location of a mothership, which makes their operating radius and the weaponry they can use in battle practically unlimited. Of course, it is rarely the case that they use weaponry so overly enormous that it severely reduces their mass balance and mobility. The only disadvantage is that an unqualified pilot is unable to link the Vessel of Anima with the Zohar, and therefore cannot even start up the unit. There are only a very few qualified pilots in the entire galaxy. As a result, ES operations seem to be naturally limited to the tactical level operations. In other words, not everybody can even start the damn thing, but, you can just kind of assume that our party is going to have a certain number of people that can pilot these ESs. As we saw last game, it shouldn't be that big of a problem for us. The whole limited thing of it. ES Asher, Chaos and Juniors unit. Customized for Juniors use. A versatile unit capable of handling both ground and air combat. It is prepared with weaponry that can handle all aspects of battle. So, Junior apparently can pilot an ES. The ES Zebulon. Oh, and notice how they don't allow us to kind of switch the co-pilot. We got the one co-pilot this time. Next up, we have the ES Zebulon. Ziggy and Momo's unit, customized for Momo's use. It specializes in long-range gun combat and has been installed with a great deal of firepower. Its mobility lags behind other ES units. Wait, really? but it covers for this drawback with its multi-directional ether attacks. It was the fastest one last game. Even with its two-seat structure, the enormous amount of weaponry installed would be completely impossible for a normal co-pilot to handle. It is safe to say that this task could only be managed by Momo, a 100 series observational unit. Next up, we have the Dyna, the ES Dyna, of course. It was built by Kevin as a supplementary weapon for Cosmos, but never officially registered. Kevin built an ES, what do you know? Xion accompanies Cosmos in the ES Dyna. Within Vector, it was never treated as anything more than a piece of equipment with which to gather data for the Cosmos project. Its value as a machine has already depreciated in full. As a result, Xion has been allowed to operate it on her own authority. However, as it is still an ES, Wilhelm later officially requested it be loaned to the Kukai Foundation. So Xion was just given the Dyna. Like, what the hell? The unit's characteristics include its long travel range on the level of a space cruiser and its high speed and mobility in battle. It also has an ample array of firepower, the X-Buster, made available when the unit is operated in conjunction with Cosmos, is especially worth noting. Kind of spoiler a little bit there, but you kind of knew what was going to be happening here. Although it has a two-seat cockpit, when not docked with Cosmos, Xion handles everything from unit control to firearms herself, apparently having made the lower seat into a simple navigational station. The unit's head contains a docking connector for a mobile Dyna interface, so apparently Xion can do everything by herself. I assume she can't do the X-Buster, but what do I know? Next up, we have Inquisitors, a group aligned with Ormus. Remember that Pellegri and Margulis are the two Inquisitors that we know of the most. It holds a singular position within the religious organization, and the cardinal that leads it is said to have verbal clout and influence rivaling the patriarch. Remember that the cardinal heading the Inquisitors appears to be Heinlein, or at least it was at some point. And the patriarch was Sergius. They don't name him here, but I assume they're coming up with a new patriarch since Sergius didn't make it through the end of the last game. Next up, we have Udu, the Unus Mundus Drive Operation System. It's the OS for the UMN. Said to be a control AI originally created as a UMN navigational device, it was refitted by Miyuki Mizrahi as a Zohar command device. According to Vector Records, the history of Link experiments with Udu extend back to the Lost Jerusalem era. Apparently, it has been recognized as a wave-based existence since far before the development of the UMN. So Udu was around before the UMN, but they're trying to use it to control the UMN? Even today, details on Udu have not been revealed. It is thought to be a consciousness that exists in a different dimension from our own and deeply intertwined with the space-time anomaly touched off by the Zohar, and it's going out of control. The UTIC organization, knowing that certain people are able to make contact with this way of existence, gathered test subjects with this contact ability and conducted Zohar operational experiments. They tried to use them to complete a so-called Udu system, but in the end it merely led to the Zohar going out of control. So Udu is bad. The original Zohar, what all of this seems to be about. Suddenly appearing during the excavation of ruins in Kenya in the 21st century, it was soon recovered by Vector, where research on it continued. Grimoire Verum, one of the researchers, conducted a link experiment on it that failed, touching off a space-time anomaly that resulted in the annihilation of Lost Jerusalem. The same Grimoire Verum that apparently caused the Gnosis terrorism between games 2 and this game? Maybe. Research would later be picked up anew by Joachim Mizrahi. As the research wore on, assorted other people would be involved. It remained sealed away in Old Miltia for 15 years, but reappeared once more after the Y data was leaked and fell into the hands of Ormus Patriarch Sergius. That is the one that we fought at the end of the last game. However, it was soon caught in the subsequent space-time anomaly and swallowed up by the giant Gnosis known as Abel's Ark. Its current whereabouts are unknown. I assume it's still in Abel's Ark, though. Imaginary space. There is a theory that the space we live in is composed of two realities and nothingness. Normal space, which we are actually able to perceive, and imaginary space, which proceeds along an imaginary temporal axis we cannot perceive. I wish you guys wouldn't call it imaginary space. It makes it sound like it doesn't exist, you know? The concept of imaginary time, so not only imaginary space, but imaginary time. The concept of imaginary time itself is a theory devised by Stephen Hawking, probably the preeminent astrophysicist in the world today. To explain the birth of the universe without the use of singularities, without relying on the existence of God. He got in a lot of flack for that, saying, I can explain the Big Bang Theory without God. He later had to say, I didn't mean there was no God, I just said I could explain it without it. With it, one can picture a universe without any beginning, the Big Bang singularity, or end, the Big Crunch singularity. Technically, I think that the current concept of the end is not the Big Crunch, which would be everything coming together. But I think they call it the Big Chill? Something similar to that, where the universe just keeps expanding and expanding to the point that the atoms are not close enough to generate enough heat to keep life alive. It's a lot more anticlimactic that way, but instead simply composed of a multidimensional hyperspherical surface. I'm going to pretend like I understand that. In this story, the gnosis exists along this imaginary temporal axis and intervene in normal space. Pretty much the way that I see it is that there are more dimensions that we cannot perceive, and the gnosis exists in those additional dimensions. That's the easiest way for me to picture it, and it's still not that easy to picture. Next up, we do have the gnosis, non-physical beings that exist in imaginary space. We have seen this one, though. Right, and the gnosis phenomenon, that's when they show up. The pilgrimage fleet, another term for the gnosis. See the gnosis heading. That's an interesting name. We have the immigrant fleet and the pilgrimage fleet. It can't be a coincidence that they use a similar name for the two of those, can it? Next up, we have the compass of order and chaos, a compass placed in Wilhelm's office that reacted to Cosmos's awakening at the end of the last game. It uses a plate modeled after the Zohar discovered at Lake Turkana, set in a stone tablet on top of a base. Wilhelm apparently uses this compass to procure assorted information, but how it works is shrouded in mystery. The Chaos Ring is currently non-functional, so is also referred to as the compass of order, right? He only has the order part going. He doesn't understand what the Chaos Ring is doing at this point. I assume he can read it somehow. Next up, we have Zarathustra, or in German, Zarathustra. An entity shrouded in mystery. It is not even known whether it is physical or non-physical in nature. Well, thank you for the detailed explanation. Now we have a testament. Wilhelm's aides each wears a different color of cloak. They pilot mysterious mobile weapons and even have the power to distort space. Their power is so massive that even Sergius, piloting the Proto-Omega, which destroyed a planet, was wiped away in a flash because of the testaments. Secret data. Privileged. Oh, I think yes. Right. We got this. I'll read it again, though. It's actually interesting. Privileged vector data that is placed inside S Division within the UMN. Non-public informational records, mainly concerning the UMN and backroom deals that have been conducted in the past, are recorded there. Remember, not crimes, just kind of corruption for Vector. Xi'an cooperated with Scientia to collect the information to find out the truth behind Vector. Data on Lemageddon and Grimoire Verum came from this classified information. There's that name again, Grimoire Verum. We still don't know what Lemageddon is, though. We don't have access to that just yet. Next up, we have the Song of Nephilim, one of the devices made by the late Joachim Mizrahi to control the Zohar. It is shaped like a giant inverted pyramid. Not really. The sides are too long, I would say, but what do I know? It was once stored within Labyrinthos, headquarters of the UTIC organization. Xi'an saw its shape from her mother's hospital room. As the name implies, the Song of Nephilim plays a song, a wavelength, which cannot be heard by normal human ears. The song is said to attract the gnosis. The Song of Nephilim are the words of God that were recorded in the Y data, one of the relics, the legacies of God. Well, this is new. I don't remember this being brought up before. The Y data apparently contains one of the legacies of God. A man named Grimoire Verum analyzed these words to create the program known as Lemmageton. Joachim reconstructed a fragment version of this program as part of the Udu system. The wavelengths it emitted included the word Nephilim in its human audible range, so he named the system the Song of Nephilim. The Song of Nephilim was used in the Miltian conflict 15 years ago. However, as it had not been tuned by Joachim, its power was insufficient to bring the Zohar into operation. Dimension shift, the act of transferring space itself to another space in a different location and phase. A phenomenon that deviates from all laws of physics, so even they admit it. Things that supposedly exist are made to disappear as if there had never been anything there at all. Lost Jerusalem is said to have been shrunk to Planck-scale size and erased from existence by a dimension shift caused by the Zohar going out of control. The Y data, said to be research data related to the Zohar, left behind by the late Joachim Mizrahi. Joachim sealed it into Momo's subconscious domain during the Miltian conflict. The UMN transport code for Old Miltia, closed off 15 years ago, is recorded inside the data. Someone who obtained this code would not only be able to gate jump to Old Miltia again, but would also be able to obtain the original Zohar sleeping on Old Miltia. Consequently, a vicious battle unfolded between the UTIC organization and the Federation government over this Y data, with efforts on all sides concentrated on securing Momo. After Momo had been brought into the custody of the Contact Subcommittee, an attempt to remove the protection from the Y data and salvage it was undertaken at the UMN Administration Center on 2nd Miltia, thanks to Albedo Piazzolla's plot. However, the analysis failed. That resulted in the data being leaked to outside sources, setting off the space-time anomaly in Miltian space. That was kind of early on in the second game. I want to say like the middle, but a little bit before the middle, probably. And then back to the Vessel of Anima. Oh, we are almost done here. Just towns to report now. Just 3 of them here. Here we can find segment address. A corridor-shaped area created by bugs and construction nanomachines. Normally, they can be identified by their locked red doors. In recent years, segments with gold doors have also been sighted. However, due to the scarcity of reports, much is still unknown about segments. And here we get the new information. Additionally, the Cunningham Company, the largest manufacturer of construction nanomachines in the star cluster, completely denies that its nanomachines are creating segments. An item known as a segment file exists which can record the location of discovered segment addresses, a list of obtained decoders, and other information. A segment file. We have seen this before. Segment files can record a variety of data, including the locations of discovered addresses, obtained decoders, and information about the treasures inside of segments. It's said that there are now hundreds of segment hunter hobbyists throughout the star cluster. For these people, segment files are indispensable items. I don't necessarily need it, though. It's widely held that the segment file was invented by a soldier on Mictum named Neil Swain. That was the guy that gave us the segment file in the first game, Mr. Swain. A decoder, a repair device for unlocking segment addresses. Segment addresses are created by construction nanomachines. Decoders distribute repair nanomachines that release the locks on the door-like structures that mark segment addresses. An item known as a segment file exists which can display a convenient list of how many decoders have been obtained. And that is it for this database session. It was a long one. It went way longer than I thought it would. I was picturing like 2 parts. We're now talking like double that. But with that done, that is going to do it for these parts of Let's Play Xenosaga Episode 3. When we come back, actual gameplay. We will run around with Shion in a bikini next time. I have been Baller Scuba, and I hope you guys have enjoyed these parts. Hope you laughed. Hope you learned. Hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.